Welcome one and all to this FrewBall FM special. It's Premier League predictions. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to run through the Premier League teams 20th to 1st to say where I think they'll finish based on the transfers, what they've done in the transfer window in general, the managers, and just the squad, and analyse any weaknesses, strengths, that sort of thing. So let's crack on. So unfortunately for you Cardiff fans, I have gone for Cardiff City to finish bottom of the pile this season. I'm pretty sure that most people who do Premier League predictions wouldn't argue with predicting Cardiff to finish last, to finish bottom. But I'm just not being that impressed with the transfers. I mean, they've signed Bobby Reid, who's been a good player in the Championship for Bristol City, obviously. But whether he can quite cut it in the Premier League remains to be seen. It's the same with Josh Murphy from Norwich, although a very good prospect. Whether he's actually ready-made for the Premier League already is another matter. So just not really that impressed. Well, not that I'm not impressed. It's just that they're not really Premier League signings, and it's the same for Harry Arter as well. I mean, he's a very good player, and he's been a good player for Bournemouth over the years that they've been in the Premier League, but he's never really sort of kicked on, and there's obviously a reason that Bournemouth are willing to let him go. Neil Warnock's obviously a very good manager in the Championship and has been responsible for numerous promotions for different clubs, but I just can't see him keeping Cardiff in the league on the budget that they're working on, and just the way that the club's ran, really. So yeah, Cardiff City 20th. Now at 19th, I've gone for Huddersfield Town. It's with a heavy heart that I go with Huddersfield Town to get relegated, because I really enjoyed watching them play last season. I think David Wagner is a fantastic manager, and what I think might happen is that another team starts really poorly and their manager's sacked and David Wagner is snapped up by them. So I can't imagine him possibly staying the whole season, but I just think Huddersfield just haven't quite got enough to keep them in the league this season. They have made some good transfers. I mean, you take a look at the likes of Isaac Mbenza, who comes in from Montpellier. Obviously know him a little bit from Schalke, from Sochaux as well. When he was there, he was a bit of a prospect. So they've done a decent bit of business. I mean, they've obviously finalised the deal for Jonas Lörsel. He was the goalkeeper last season. He was fantastic, so he's came in permanently. Eric Durm from Borussia Dortmund, very good player. Ramadan Sobhi, I think, is a good signing as well. Whether he can kick on and sort of start to fulfil a bit of that potential that he's had and has shown for Stoke. And obviously, again, made the permanent signing of Terence Congolo, who was very good for them last season. But I just don't think Huddersfield have got the strength this season to keep them up. They sort of waned towards the end of last season, and I think I can see that carrying on into this season. So yeah, Huddersfield to get relegated and to come 19th. Now, finishing in 18th, and the third team to get relegated, I believe, will be Watford. Now, this was a very difficult choice, really. I think Watford are one of a number of teams who could finish in that 18th position. I think, it's going to be very tight at the bottom this year. I think, from anywhere from probably about 10th or 11th all the way down to 18th, 19th, 20th, it's going to be very tight, with the possible exception of Cardiff being sort of cut adrift at the bottom. But again, I mean, Watford are very similar, following a very similar vein to Huddersfield with the transfers, and I just don't really think, they've actually done that much in terms of adding Premier League quality to the squad. I mean, they've made the signing of the loan signing of Gerard Deulofeu permanent, which is a very good signing. He's a really good player, really Deulofeu. But then you look past that, and you've got some untried players in Adam Messina and Mark Navarro. Ben Wilmot coming in from Stevenage will even be in the first team. I don't know. I don't know much about him, to be honest. And then they've just added the goalkeeper Ben Foster, returning to Watford from West Brom. So I don't really see I just can't see Watford staying up, especially since they've obviously lost Richarlison as well. And actually in the sack race, I predict that Javi Gracia might be the first manager to go, just with Watford's track record of chopping and changing managers. So yeah, Watford to finish 18th and to get relegated, Javi Gracia to be the first manager to go. In 17th, I've gone for Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace have got a very good manager in Roy Hodgson, and he's one of the reasons I think they'll stay up. I think, again, it'll be very, very tight down there. It was a toss-up really between them and Watford as to who would get relegated, but ultimately I went with Watford on the basis of the transfer business. Now, Crystal Palace obviously have managed to keep hold of Wilfried Zaha, which is the best part of their transfer window, I believe. So very good manager, managed to keep hold of Wilfried Zaha, decent squad. They've lost Kabay, but they've managed to keep hold of Milivojevic as well, who was very good last season. So I think Crystal Palace will be in about 17th, in and around that space. Again, they're one of those teams that could go on a really bad run and end up getting relegated, but they could also go on a really good run and end up finishing about 10th. So I just really don't, it's that bottom half is so difficult to call. 16th position, I've gone with Brighton. I think Brighton might have a really good season just because they've done some serious transfer business, which we'll get to in a minute. But the main reason I think is because Chris Hughton is a fantastic manager. He has done wonders with Brighton, and I think that'll only continue this season. If we just do take a look at the transfers that Brighton have made, the likes of Leon Balogun on a free is a good transfer. But it's more some of the others, like I'm really excited about the signing of Ali Reza Yarnbaksh from AZ Alkmaar. I think Eredivisie signings are quite difficult to call most of the time. You never know whether you're going to get a Luis Suarez or you're going to get Afonso Alves, or whether you're going to get Ruud van Nistelrooy or a Marco van Ginkel. You just don't know. So it's a bit of a, I mean, it's a lot of money, £17 million for a club like Brighton, but I mean they spent a lot on Locadia and Izquierdo last season. So it swings and roundabouts really. They've got the money, they've invested it well, I believe. I mean, other signings, Florin Andone is a really good signing. He's scored goals in La Liga for the last couple of seasons. So again, Bernardo from Leipzig is a really good signing, a full-back, a position that obviously they needed with Bruno aging. So and Yves Bissouma, a prospect from Lille, who I know from playing Football Manager that can become a really good player. So I mean, that doesn't always guarantee that they will in real life, but Football Manager is God. So yeah, Brighton in 16th. They've just signed, I think, just right at the last minute at the end of the transfer deadline, they've just signed Dan Burn, who will be a decent signing. He's just a giant, isn't he, from Fulham? So, or he did play for Fulham. I'm not sure if that's where he came from, but no, he actually came from Wigan. So, yeah, Dan Burn, good signing. Brighton's finished 16th. In 15th, I've gone for Bournemouth. Now, a few people might be a bit surprised by how low I've ranked Bournemouth here, but I think that Bournemouth, again, they're another team that haven't really done much. To be fair to them, they have kind of kept the core of the team together, but I think they haven't really added that much quality. I mean, obviously Jefferson Lerma coming in from Levante, who had a really good World Cup. Whether he can transfer that to the Premier League is a different matter. And obviously they've signed Diego Rico, who's a bit of an unknown quantity, I think a fullback from Leganés, and then David Brooks from Sheffield United, who's a prospect, but whether he'll get in the first team remains to be seen, really. But Eddie Howe has got a good track record of bringing through players, so he might well look to bring through David Brooks. But yeah, they haven't added immediate quality. They have managed to keep players like Josh King and Callum Wilson, which is important, who I think will get goals for them. But I think Bournemouth are one of those sides that if they go on a really bad run, they could get dragged into a relegation scrap, and I think they could really do without that. I think Bournemouth are a good side when they're playing well, but when they're playing poorly, they do play poorly. So hopefully Bournemouth can avoid that relegation battle, and they'll stick in 15th. In 14th, I've gone with Southampton. Southampton for me are a bit of an unknown quantity this season. They very narrowly escaped relegation last season. Mark Hughes obviously taken over, who I don't really rate as a manager, to be honest. He kept Stoke, I think it was in 9th position for about 3 years, and then they got relegated. I know that wasn't all his fault, but I just don't really rate Mark Hughes as a manager, and I can see Southampton sort of stagnating a little bit. And again, similarly to Bournemouth, if they do go on a bad run, they may well get dragged into a relegation scrap. I think they're going to struggle to score goals. They might be quite solid at the back. They've got good players like Wesley Hood and Ryan Bertrand, Cedric Suarez. So I think Southampton might struggle to get a few goals, and that's where the real struggle might come from. In terms of signings, I know they brought Stuart Armstrong in from Celtic, who I follow Celtic quite closely. I've got Scottish family, and Celtic are a team that I do like and watch quite a lot, and Stuart Armstrong is a really good player, very technical, can beat a player. He's a good passer. It's just whether he can do it in the Premier League. But I mean, Celtic have produced some fantastic players in the past few years. Obviously with Virgil van Dijk, Victor Wanyama, players like that. I mean, there are other players in the squad that I think could easily play in the Premier League. So we'll just have to wait and see with Stuart Armstrong really. But in terms of other signings they have made, let's have a look. So Southampton, so they've made Stuart Armstrong, Mohamed El Yunusi from Basel, who again is another bit of an unknown quantity, but quite highly rated from what I hear. So he might be a decent sign. Angus Gunn from Manchester City, who came in for quite a lot of money. I think it was about £13 million, which is a bit of a surprise considering they've got Fraser Forster. I don't know if he's injured or not, but Angus Gunn comes in from Manchester City, and Yannick Vestergaard, who's a really good signing from Borussia Mönchengladbach, just an absolute powerhouse. I think he's about 6'4" centre back. So I was mentioning the defensive side of things before. He might be somebody that is really bolsters their defence. So Southampton 14th. 13th position, I've gone for Burnley. What, you ask? Burnley 13th? What's going on? Well, I think the reason I've put Burnley in 13th is because of the Europa League commitments. I'm not sure if they've actually got to the group stage already. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they might be in either the last qualifying round or the group stage itself. So they do have Europa League commitments. I think that'll have an impact on the squad. They haven't brought that many players in. One good signing I think they have made is Mate Vidra from Derby. He was the top scorer in the Championship last season. Really good player, really good signing. In terms of other signings they've made, the signing of Joe Hart, which is again another fantastic signing for a club like Burnley. He's still a fantastic goalkeeper, Joe Hart, and he gets a lot of stick, but he really is still a good goalkeeper. If he finds some form again, and he's a bit of a confidence player, I think if the board and the manager's got confidence in him, then I think he'll do well. And Sean Dyche is the kind of manager. To instill confidence into his players. So I think Joe Hart will have a good season and keep Burnley some clean sheets. But I think that those Europa League commitments will leave Burnley open to a bit of fatigue, and it'll just stretch the squad a little bit too far. So I think last season's obvious. They had a really good season last season, finishing in the top half. I don't think they'll repeat that with the Europa League commitments. I think 13th is about right for Burnley. In 12th, I've gone for Fulham. Wow, what about Fulham in this transfer window? Their business, along with another clubs, which I'll get to again after this, has been absolutely fantastic. Let's just take a look at the signings. So let's have a look. So we've got Seri from Nice, who was coveted continent-wide. Every club in Europe wanted John Michael Seri last season. Fulham have got him. Absolutely brilliant signing. Him and Maxime Le Marchand have come in from Nice, who I believe is also a good defender. So two really good signings there. They brought Schürrle in on loan from Dortmund, a World Cup winner, former Chelsea player. Really, really good players. I think he's had a couple of difficult seasons with Dortmund, but if he can recapture that form with Fulham will have a really good season. Then we've got Mitrovic, who I think it was vital that they got Mitrovic back in on loan, permanently from Newcastle after his loan. He scored a lot of goals for them in the Championship last season. I think he could really do well in the Premier League this season for Fulham. He had a good World Cup as well, so really positive for Fulham that they've managed to get him back. Also got Alfie Mawson in from Swansea, which is another fantastic signing. Young English centre-back, got loads of potential, good with the ball at his feet, which Slavisa Jokanovic likes. Another manager that I think is really good and will probably go on to manage a really big club at one point. Fulham have just got a really strong squad now. Also got Callum Chambers in, which is another shrewd piece of business on loan. He's not the most spectacular of defenders by any means, but he'll do a job, and he can fill in at centre back and right back. So it's a couple of positions again for Fulham. Other ones, Sergio Rico, a really good young goalkeeper from Sevilla. There was talk of actually Chelsea purchasing him before they went in for Kepa, and that's the kind of quality that he's got. I've watched him in the Champions League against Liverpool last season. I've watched a bit of La Liga and know that he's a really quality young goalkeeper, and he'll be a fantastic addition to Fulham's squad. They're also going for Anguissa for 30 million from Marseille. That seems to have come out of nowhere a bit. I didn't really know there's any speculation around Anguissa, and to be honest, I haven't really seen him play. but obviously quite highly rated. So another £30 million player for Fulham. That's going to be interesting to see if he does come in. Tim Fosu-Mensah from Manchester United is another good loan signing. He's very versatile, defensive midfield, right back, centre back, spot on. Now this last one is another, I think, an absolute coup for Fulham. Luciano Vietto, if they can get this one over the line, because I don't believe it's actually finalised yet at the time of recording, I don't think it's finalised, but Luciano Vietto started out at Villarreal. Well, he came from Argentina. I think it was Racing Club in Argentina. Moved to Villarreal and then moved to Atletico Madrid after scoring 10 plus goals for Villarreal in the previous season. He's a player. I've watched him in La Liga. He's been on loan the last couple of seasons from Atletico Madrid, but if he can find some form, Fulham are in for a treat, and I think they'll do really well this season. So 12th is what I've gone for, but I actually think Fulham could break that top 10 if they get things right. Now then, in 11th, I've gone for Newcastle United. The reason that I think Newcastle will finish so highly is simply because of Rafa Benitez. He's just a brilliant manager. You probably tell I'm a Liverpool fan, but I really rate Rafa Benitez as a manager, as most people probably couldn't argue with. If it wasn't for Rafa, I'd probably have them down as relegation scrappers, but with Rafa's influence and actually some of the signings they've made have been absolutely fantastic. They've signed 2 centre-backs in Fabian Schär and Federico Fernandez for a combined £9 million. That is unreal. Neither of them are particularly old. I mean, I don't think Fernandez is no spring chicken. I think he's 29, 30 kind of range, but Fabian Schär is quite young. He's a good ball-playing defender. I just think Newcastle have got their chance to have a really good season. They've brought Salomon Rondon on loan from West Brom. That's a quality signing. It's an upgrade on Slimani, I think, from last season. They brought the goalkeeper in again, Dubravka, who had a really good end of last season. Ki Sung-young on a free transfer is a really good piece of business. No-brainer, really. And then Yoshinori Muto, another striker, who's had a couple of good seasons in Germany with Mainz. So I think Newcastle will have a decent season, actually. And I think they can look forward to it with optimism. Optimism as far as 11th place. 10th, Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think Wolves, there's obviously a lot of excitement around Wolves this season. They've made some absolutely fantastic transfers, which, again, we'll go through. Nuno Espirito Santo done a fantastic job last season. Wolves are one of the best Championship sides I've seen in a while, coming up, from the Championship to the Premier League. I think actually, obviously, I mean, all three newly promoted sides stayed up last season. I think I don't think it's going to happen this season, but obviously I think Fulham and Wolves will both stay up, so that's another 2. I think as time's gone on, the gap's got a little bit shorter, which the Premier League was always criticised for the gap being too big between the Premier League and the Championship. But actually, I think now you look at sides coming up, they're spending money. Wolves have spent big, Fulham have spent big. Cardiff probably haven't got the budget to do so, but Wolves and Fulham have both spent big, gone for it. Let's see how that pans out. I'm really excited to see how that pans out. But some of the signings are just spectacular. So if you take a look at some of their signings, I mean, you look at the likes of João Moutinho, Rui Patricio, internationally renowned players going to play at the Molineux. It's crazy. It's just, I mean, fantastic news for Wolves fans. Even Raul Jimenez coming in on loan from Benfica. He was tipped for big things a couple of seasons ago. Tall, bit of a target man, bit of a defensive forward, to use Football Manager speak. But he'll put himself about. He's big, he's strong, he's quick. He probably get a few goals. Made Bonatini's signing permanent. Brought in Johnny Otto from Atletico Madrid on loan. I think if any of you have played Football Manager, you know that Johnny Otto always goes to one of the big clubs in England, usually Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, one of those, and absolutely storms the full-back position. So he can play right back and left back, I think. So Wolves have got themselves obviously a real talent there. Adama Traore now. I mean, Adama Traore is a bit hit and miss. He played for Villa. Was good for them when he played, but he is a bit hit and miss. He was like that for Middlesbrough as well. So I mean, as much as a decent signing, it is £18 million, quite a lot of money. But still, I think, I mean, Wolves are throwing it around like it's going out of fashion. So Adama Traore, decent signing again. And then Dendoncker on loan from Anderlecht again. He's another one that was sought after by quite a few European clubs. And he's gone to Wolves, so good on him. And I think Wolves will finish 10th, if not higher. I can't really see them finishing any lower than 12th, really. I don't think they'll be involved in a relegation scrap unless the Portuguese players just can't be asked and go missing, but I can't see that happening. I think Wolves will have a very good season and finish 10th or above. 9th place, I've gone with Leicester City. They've, again, another Premier League club that have done really good business. I think they've got a decent manager in Klopp, but 9th, Claude Puel's the kind of manager that gets you 9th place with a 0 goal difference. That's just what will happen. I just think that's what's going to happen with Leicester. They'll just finish 9th with a 0 goal difference. I've called it now. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think that's what will happen. But they have made some really good signings, and I will go through them. As I was recording this, actually, Jamie Vardy's just signed a 4-year deal as well, so that's another good bit of news for Leicester fans. So Leicester, Ricardo Pereira, right back from Porto, is a really good addition. Johnny Evans is a really good signing. I think they got him for about £3.5 million when Arsenal and Man City were getting quoted massive sums last season. And then West Brom got relegated, and all of a sudden he's at Leicester for £3.5 million. So but still a good signing. James Maddison's a really good signing. I've watched a bit of him in the Championship for Norwich. He's just a really, really technical player. I think he's got a lot of potential, and hopefully Leicester can bring that out on him and he can be a future England international. Danny Ward from Liverpool. I'm surprised that there's been no movement with Kasper Schmeichel, considering they brought Danny Ward in for £13.5 million. He's a good signing. He'll be a really good backup if Kasper Schmeichel gets injured. He's a good goalkeeper. I just wish he'd been given more of a chance at Liverpool, to be honest. Rashid Ghazal from Monaco is a good signing. Got a lot of potential. Leicester will probably be hoping he can become something a bit of a Mahrez type, a straight replacement really for Riyad Mahrez after he's moved to Manchester City. So decent signing, got a lot of potential, but he's never really fulfilled it at Lyon or Monaco. So Filip Benkovic and Kaglar Soyuncu, both players with massive potential. I know them from Football Manager. I've signed them before for various teams. Filip Benkovic, the Croatian from Dinamo Zagreb, and Kaglar Soyuncu, the Turk from Freiburg. So they both come in with a bit of pedigree in terms of they're known as players who are going to have a bit of potential. So I think Leicester will have a really decent season. It looks like they've held on to Harry Maguire as well, which is really important. Obviously, still got Jamie Vardy, still got a decent team. They managed to keep hold of Wilfred Ndidi as well. I'm sure there'll have probably been a bit of interest in him because he's a fantastic midfield player. They've got good strength in depth now. Leicester, I think, still got Adrian Silva as well. But probably forgot about him. He didn't really do much last season, but he might start to blossom in the Premier League. 8th position, West Ham. Now, West Ham are another team I think that needs to be really careful. They've brought some really good signings in, but there is the risk that they've brought them in from abroad and they're just not going to adapt to the Premier League. They end up getting unhappy and end up getting sold in January. I hope that doesn't happen, and I don't think it will. I think West Ham will have a decent season this season. They've got a massive stadium, massive fan base. Obviously, they're a big club, West Ham, and I think the signings should do well in the Premier League. The likes of Felipe Anderson and Andrei Yarmolenko, really good signings. Ryan Fredericks is a really good free transfer, and Issa Diop from Toulouse, who's a young French defender who, again, has had a lot of potential on Football Manager for a few years now. But I think West Ham will do all right. I think they'll come 8th. They'll have a good season, good manager as well. So, I just hope it doesn't go wrong for them, because there is the potential that obviously it could with so many changes. So many different players coming into the club and so many changes at once. Clubs have suffered from that kind of thing before, but I think West Ham will be all right. 7th place, Everton. I think Everton have, along with Fulham and Liverpool, had done the best transfer business of the window. Some of Everton's signings have really caught the eye, such as Bernard on a free transfer. Richarlison is not worth £50 million. I don't care what anybody says, but he hasn't proven that he's worth it, unless he goes on. He'll probably prove me wrong and go and score 25 goals this season and get Player of the Year, but £50 million for an unproven talent. He's unproven because he had 6 good months in the Premier League and then went right off the boil. So he's not a proven talent. It is a risk, but I still think Everton have done really good business. Yerry Mina coming in as a centre-back is really good. I do believe they're trying to get Kurt Zuma in on loan from Chelsea as well, so that could form the basis of a really, really good centre-back partnership. Unless they're going to go with the 3, again, they've got a really good manager in Marco Silva, I believe, as well, so who also might be able to get the best out of Richarlison. But Mina, Keane and Zuma at the back are going to be three. They've got three really good centre backs. They've also got Lucas Digne in from Barcelona as well. Yeah, I missed actually as well the loan signing of Andre Gomes from Barcelona, another quality signing. I mean, he hasn't really lit the world light for Barcelona, but the season before he went to Barcelona, he was very good for Valencia, which is obviously why they bought him. It's again whether he can adapt to the Premier League. There's going to be a very Portuguese feel about the Premier League this season. So I've gone for Everton in 7th. I think Everton and West Ham are probably the most likely teams to have a really good season and try and push that top 6. They're probably the ones who are most likely to break into it. So bringing up the bottom of the top 6, Chelsea. Chelsea, my team, on my current Football Manager YouTube save. Go and check it out. It's in my channel. Just go and have a look at it. Just plugging for it a little bit there, but yeah, I think Chelsea will finish 6th. I think Maurizio Sarri will do a decent job in his first season. I don't know if he'll keep his job. Chelsea, again, much like Watford, tend to chop and change the managers, so it swings and roundabouts really. They've done all right business. I wouldn't say it's particularly good, particularly bad. What's interesting is going to be watching how Kepa gets on after the sale of Courtois to Real Madrid and superseding Alisson as the most expensive goalkeeper in the world. He's a very young goalkeeper, and to be honest, I haven't really seen that much of him. I mean, I was actually watching the debate on Sky Sports with that idiot Jeff Shreves, and he's like, I don't know anything about him. I've never even heard of him. It's like that doesn't gauge how good a player is. That just means you're an idiot. Jorginho's a good signing. I think he'll do well in the Premier League. He's got some real technical ability in the centre of that midfield for Chelsea, so I think he'll do well. Obviously, got Kovacic on loan as part of the Courtois deal now. That is a really good bit of business, I think, and it will have a good season. I think much of the season obviously rests on whether Alvaro Morata feels like turning up or not, to be honest. But now that he's got a Premier League season under his belt, you never know, he might kick on and become top scorer, bank 30 goals in the league. You know, you just don't know. Obviously, we need to talk about the most important transfer for Chelsea this season, and that is the free transfer of Robert Green. 5th. I can feel it already. I can feel the anguish at the fact that I've put Spurs 5th. You know, it might be too easy for me to say Tottenham are going to finish 5th because they didn't do any transfer business, they didn't sign anyone, they didn't strengthen the squad. But you know, I just think that's exactly what's happened, and Tottenham are just going to stagnate. I genuinely do believe that. I think Mauricio Pochettino's done a fantastic job there, but he needs to keep progressing the team, and I don't think he's done that. Obviously, some of the players will be better from the previous season than they were last season, but to kick on and win the league, I just think the teams above them, and we'll get onto that in a minute, as to why I think they'll finish above Tottenham. But yeah, I can see Tottenham slipping out of that top 4, and that would be disastrous for them, considering that they've got a new stadium and what have you. So they could prove me completely wrong, to be honest, Tottenham as well. Tottenham could, the fact that they've, you know, it might be actually an advantage for them that they've kept the same squad together, they're sticking together, they've got that team spirit, everybody knows each other, they know the roles, there's no new faces coming in to disrupt the harmony. You know, it could be that case, and they could end up going on having a fantastic season and finishing 2nd, 3rd, 4th. They have got that quality in the first team, but it's just that strength in depth that I think Tottenham lack, and that's why I've gone for 5th. 4th, Arsenal. Now then, Arsenal have gone under the radar a little bit, haven't they? I really do believe that Arsenal are going to have a really good season. I think Unai Emery gets the best out of players. I think he'll get the best out of Mesut Ozil, and I also think Tottenham get shot for saying that. Arsenal have made some really good signings as well. The likes of Socrates at the back brings some much needed steel. Lucas Torreira in the defensive midfield area brings some much needed steel area. He had a really good World Cup. So I can see Lucas Torreira, he's that kind of tenacious player that Arsenal have needed for some time. He'll get stuck into challenges, he won't shy away from them. So I think Arsenal can look forward to a good season. You know, you look at the top line, they've got Aubameyang and Lacazette, who have had a season and a half between them in the Premier League now, so I can really see Arsenal having a really good season, and not many people have been talking about them, and they've done things quietly, and I think that suits them. So yeah, Arsenal 4th, occupying the last Champions League spot. In 3rd, I've gone for Manchester United. Now, let me tell you something about Manchester United this season. There's been so much negativity around them, but I'm totally discounting all of that. Manchester United will be right up there, and I think Manchester United, along with the top 2, will be quite close together this season. all of this subterfuge from Mourinho, smoke and mirrors kind of stuff. He hasn't gone about it the right way. I grant you that. He really hasn't gone about it the right way. But I still think Manchester United, look at the squad they've got. Lukaku, Sanchez, Pogba, world-class players. And here's Mourinho saying they can look forward to a disappointing season. What's a disappointing season for Manchester United anyway? Is it to finish second and not win anything? I think they're being discounted too easily. Believe you me, they'll be right up there this season. I really do believe that. The squad they've got, Mourinho's acting like they've got the squad of like Cardiff, and they're not making any signings. It's like, no, you've got £100 million players in your squad there. You've got Pogba and Lukaku who cost a combined £183 million. It's like, what are you complaining about? Get on with it. For me, it's all just subterfuge, and it doesn't wash with the fans, it doesn't wash with the media, but I think people are discounting them too easily, and they'll be right up there this season. I also think Fred's a good signing. So, second position, I have chosen my beloved Liverpool, so that obviously means who I've chosen to win the Premier League. Liverpool have obviously done some really good transfer business. I'm really, really happy with the business they've done. Alisson, much needed goalkeeper. We've went out, got him. The fee doesn't matter. We're doing the same thing with Van Dijk. We had the Coutinho money there to spend. 75 million for Van Dijk is going to look like a snip, I think, at the end, by the time he's finished at Liverpool. The same with, the thing with Alisson, the only reservation I have with Alisson is that obviously he hasn't played a Premier League game. We don't know what sort of we're going to get from him in the Premier League, but he comes there with a big reputation. Big reputation goalkeeper is what we needed, and we went and got one. Really good additions, Fabinho and Naby Keita. I'm really looking forward to Naby Keita playing. He's probably one of the more exciting players that we've got. And Xherdan Shaqiri as well. Now, personally, I don't really rate Shaqiri, to be honest. I think, it might have just been that he was at Stoke and he'd become a bit disenchanted with the way that things were going at the club. But he seems to me like somebody, if he's not playing, and he won't play every game for Liverpool, if he's not playing, he'll become a bit disruptive. Maybe not, I might be wrong, but I've never really rated Shaqiri. He's one of these players who have one good game in 6 or 7 games, and because he's playing for Stoke, that people pick up on that. But you need to be doing it day in, day out. Well, not day in, day out, but game in, game out for a club like Liverpool. But he's not going to be playing every game, and to be honest, at 13.5 million, you can't go wrong. It's a good bit of business, it really is, because we could sell him on for that tomorrow. So I'm happy with the signing, to be honest, even though I'm not a massive fan of Shaqiri himself. And top of the pile, the Premier League winner, I believe this season will be Manchester City. Won't come as a surprise to anybody. I think everybody's predicting the same thing. It's just too hard to look past them, isn't it? They've basically kept the same squad together and added Riyad Mahrez to it. So, Riyad Mahrez is a quality player. I don't think he's any better than what they've got, but he just adds a bit more depth in those wing positions. Obviously, Benjamin Mendy will feel like a new signing as well, because he was injured for most of last season. They had to play Fabian Delph at left back. But yeah, it's pretty obvious, it's pretty clear. With the likes of De Bruyne, Aguero, Gabriel Jesus, Manchester City should go on and have a really good season, as they did do last season. I'd expect them to push a little bit more in the Champions League this season, but in terms of the Premier League, I think they will win it. I don't think it'll be as easy as last season, and I think Liverpool and Manchester United will actually push them quite close this season. I think Arsenal and Spurs, and that bit further down will just drop off a little bit. But I think it'll be closer than last season. I really hope that Liverpool can challenge them for the title, being a Liverpool fan, and I really hope we do have a good season. I think we will, but I just think Man City have got too much for everyone still, and that includes Pep Guardiola. So just another couple of things as well before we go. Top scorer, I predict that the top scorer will be Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. That might be a bit of a surprise to you, but I think he'll have a really good season now that he's got used to the Premier League. Mo Salah will probably be in there and about. Don't know. Maybe Firmino or Mane will break through and get a load of goals. Kane's obviously, a prime candidate, but can he keep doing it season in, season out? It remains to be seen. So yeah, I think the Golden Boot winner will go to Aubameyang. But yeah, it's not something I'm going to put my house on. That's just a bit of an arbitrary choice, really. I think there could be one of many players. There could be a surprise who comes through and scores a load of goals. But yeah, Aubameyang for me. Best goalkeeper, I think Obviously, I want it to be Alisson, but I think obviously you've got some really good goalkeepers in Ederson and De Gea. So I think even Hugo Lloris as well for Spurs. So I think there are good goalkeepers about in the Premier League. It's a shame we've lost Courtois, but Kepa can hopefully come in and have a good season for Chelsea. I think and hope that Alisson will be up there with the best this season. Top assists, I think it's hard to look past somebody like Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva maybe up there. Again, Salah, Mane, Firmino, they all get a lot of assists because they're always passing to each other to score, to be honest. So, Ozil has got a fantastic assist record for Arsenal. I think if he does have a good season under Unai Emery, then Arsenal could do really good things this season. So that brings us to the end of this Premier League predictions video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please drop me a like, comment or subscribe. I would be most humbled. And thank you very much for watching now. Bye.